Hey, you guys, how are you? Come on in. All right, I see Sohail. Here we go.
Hi,
Hey,
Melanie.
Sohail.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Great
Um,
to talk
so,
to you again.
yes, I'm so excited.
Oh, thank you. No, it's great to speak with you, and just I always love connecting with you.
Yes, it'll be awesome. I'm really excited. I picked through some things to talk about. Your book.
Sure.
I only have until 6:30, so I'm hoping that that really gives you enough time because I really want to focus on that because there's such good information in here.
Okay.
Um, but did you want to tell us, a little bit about how you even decided to write a book and how that whole process came about?
For sure, for sure. And so, just so I understand, when you say 6:30, which time zone are you talking about?
I have 30 minutes.
Got it. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, with regards to why I wanted to write a book, so I felt like so this has been percolating for years in me. And gosh, ever since maybe like 12, 13 years ago now, I felt like there were certain ideas and perspectives that I had that were not part of the mainstream. And so, and both in the mainstream as far as definitely not in the mainstream media, but then also even in, I felt spirituality circles that I was familiar with. and and I felt like there were certain things that just weren't typically said that I felt could be really valuable for people. I'm just based off of stuff that I've studied and had insights into. I felt like these were things that needed to get out there that could help some people. And so yeah, so it started like 12, 13 years ago, and so I had initially written something, and then my ideas changed, and I said, you know what, I don't want to I don't believe what I used to believe, and so I'm just not going to write this. I don't want to put these ideas out there. And then there was some prodding from my dear wife, Dr. Sunny Motamedi, who over the years she said, well, gosh, you've written that book, I mean, just get it out, it's just been sitting there, you're basically done with it. And after a few times of saying no, no, then this past year, with everything that happened, I just felt like, okay, I need to get these ideas out there. And so I revisited my book and did some editing, refining, changed some chapters to make it more aligned with my perspective. And yeah, and I sent it to a publisher, and they said, yeah, let's do it. And so yeah, so many months later, I remember when we did an interview, gosh, I think it was, I don't know when it was, like August or maybe July,
Yes,
somewhere
yes.
around there, that it was already in the works. And so finally, everything's done and it's out and available now. So I'm very thankful, feel very blessed. And so yeah, that's how it happened.
That's amazing. Your wife is incredible. I'm so thankful that
Oh,
she gave you
thank
that
you.
little nudge.
Thank
So,
you.
if you're just joining us, we are talking about Sohail's new book, and it's called How Did We Get Here? How Humanity Abused Philosophy, Religion, and Science to Bring About Planetary Disaster and Totalitarian Lockdown. So, Sohail, I want to ask you a question, and but I also want to let everyone know too that this is an easy read. It has really deep, thought provoking very well laid out information, but you can read, you can like have a really like grasp of what he's talking about. It's not like a book where you have to, um, digest large pieces of information. But, Sohail, one thing that you and I talked about before was the educational system and how it's almost like a brainwashing. And so you write the impact of head knowledge philosophy on formal education. And you basically said that our educational system today is detached from what it was originally intended for, and how this brainwashing it's affecting how we're even living our life today. So can you tell us a little bit about that, those changes in the education and what's really going on there?
Definitely. Yeah, so the word education, it comes from the Latin root educare, which is to bring forth, like to bring forth from one's being. And so that's very different from how we understand education today as like, reading books, memorizing things, taking tests, saying, okay, yes, I've memorized it. Check, I'm educated. Essentially. Now, I know it's more complicated than that, but but yeah. And so this type of education, which is the essence of education as I see it, is is very much an existential knowing. And I know that's a big word, but it just means from our existence, from our being. It comes from the entirety of ourselves. And that type of knowing is very experiential, and it's very heartfelt, and it's very much experienced in the body. And so that so a type of knowing like that, like for example, when we have an experience of someone, for example, from our childhood, someone who just loved us incredibly. It could be a grandma, it could be a childhood best friend, it could be a cat, it could be a dog. And just that feeling that we experience with them, that stays with us like forever. And so that is something that we'll always be able to draw back on in an instant. Like it's there, it's a part of us, it's in our being. Education today is basically, memorizing facts and very left brain analytical focused, which is important. It has a role, I feel like, in developing a well-rounded, human being. I mean, because that's an aspect of our brain, but it's so detached from that heartfelt experiential knowing that it doesn't serve us. In fact, I feel like it does a disservice to us because we feel like we know something when we've just memorized some facts, when we don't really know it from our being. And so I feel like it's doing a disservice to our experience of life, really, because it's cluttering us with names and facts and numbers instead of the experience of something and just really learning it from the depths of our being, which is so profoundly um, awakening and so profoundly life-changing and inspiring.
I absolutely love that you just said that, so often we hear that, oh, if you've had trauma, if you've gone through this experience, your body remembers it. But we forget the other side of it, which is if you've had a good experience, if you've had like this wonderful hug from a grandmother or a nurturing person in your life, that stays with you too. And
Yes.
so often, just feeling that actually changes our being, as opposed to we kind of get so focused on the survival response that we really have to go back and go, wait a second, that's actually there too.
Yeah, I love that you point that out and draw the contrast with the trauma, which is an experience that just really, scars us, that needs to be healed. Um, and putting that side by side with that loving experience, because yes, they're both very powerful. And the one, the loving experience can really inspire us for the rest of our lives in some ways, and then also inspire others, because then it becomes a part of us, right? It's like a candle that was lit, right? So someone's got a candle, someone has a light, and they take our candle that doesn't is not lit yet, and they light ours, and all of a sudden you've got one lit candle and another lit candle, and that original lit candle doesn't get diminished from this new light, and so it just spreads more and more light. And I just find that very inspiring, and gives me a lot of hope for, if we focus and really become attentive to these types of experiences, I feel like it can do wonders for humanity.
Absolutely. Yeah, I bookmarked another spot too that I liked, and it's titled Transforming Our Unconscious Beliefs. And you basically said that all of us have goals and visions for our lives, but no matter how much we focus on them or intend to work towards them, something is holding us back. That we kind of keep falling back into old habits, old ways of doing things, can't grow and change. But that when we transform our unconscious beliefs, we can step out of those patterns. So tell us about that.
Definitely. Yeah, and so this goes to what you touched on also earlier with some of the trauma response, and just the experiences of trauma also. So a lot of times, just throughout our lives, whether it's from our parents, our teachers, our religious leaders, God bless them, whoever it is, they impart some form of trauma on us unconsciously, right? So, and most times I find that it's unconscious, where these responses are inflicted on us. And so we have that experience, which transforms into a belief that's really embedded in us. And unless we can heal that with a deep healing, and I know that you're involved with somatic experiencing to help transform that. Shadow work is something that I've personally found very transformative. There's a number of healing modalities, and I feel like those are two very effective ones. Unless we can do that, then the core belief is still going to be there, no matter how much we operate in the conscious mind to say, oh, I want to transform this. I want to become, a millionaire. I want to become, someone who attracts the most amazing spouse. I want to have the most amazing career. Unless we can get to the bottom of the issue, which is in our unconscious, then we're not going to be able to really accomplish what our heart's desire is. And so I wanted to illustrate that. And that's something that I feel, there are a number of people in different circles who are aware of that, in spiritual circles. But I felt like it was important to incorporate that, so that we recognize that this is just part of the abuse that I would.
Are you there?
Part of the abuse, yeah, that happens in our educational system, in how we understand philosophy, and religion and science. And it's just, unless we address that unconscious element, then we're not going to see the results that our hearts desire.
Yeah, and so sort of tapping into the unconscious mind, really seeing what's going on there, we actually can more live from our heart, from our body, instead of from like our frontal brain that just gets so overwhelmed with information. And, one thing I love about learning about the unconscious mind is our body kind of tells us what's going on there, depending on our symptoms. If we are itching You know, our subconscious mind is kind of like maybe itching to get out of the situation. Or if we have headaches, you know, we might not really be conscious of why we're having a headache, but our unconscious mind is tired of being driven by someone else. It's like our body wants to be the leader. And so I like to use the unconscious mind to um, tap into what our higher self really wants. And that looks more like body-based, heart-centered living.
I love that. Yeah, most definitely. When we can tap into the unconscious like you describe, then we are tapping into this language of symbols that is such an important part of life. I feel like there's so many amazing messages through that, like you just described so beautifully with, with headaches and with itching. Like for example, with animals, with synchronicities. This is all an important language of life that if we can tap into that, just it's magical. And the transformations that we see both in ourselves and others is truly magical. And I mean that quite literally, where just something totally unexpected, and energy comes and shifts something, and something that beyond what you could what we could fathom can take place.
And so, Hill, would you say that where we're at is due to like a certain number of us being just unconscious of what's really going on?
Yeah, you mean like with the whole
The global agenda?
global lockdown,
Yeah.
pandemic? Yeah, I definitely feel like it's related significantly to how unconscious we are as a species, as a human species. And I feel like tapping into the unconscious and resolving a lot of the cognitive dissonance that I feel like exists for so much of humanity is central to allowing us to really heal those unconscious wounds, right? Like for example, a lot of us, I feel, resonate with these types of messages. Like I feel like people who listen to this will say like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, that makes sense. But the issue is we have other beliefs that are contrary to this, that prevent us from really channeling our energies in this direction so that we can truly heal those wounds within us as well as within society. And so like for example with the lockdowns, I mean, we're conditioned to accept as science what mainstream medicine teaches us, what we're told in our textbooks, what we're told by, um, by the local doctor, who, despite best intentions, may not be sharing information that is accurate all the time, and maybe sharing from a place of head knowledge as opposed to something that's been experienced. And so I feel like recognizing this experiential, heart-based, body-based knowledge is something that if we recognize the primacy and authority of that, then when we get information, whether it's correct information or not, we're just going to recognize it as that. It's not going to take the place of what our gut, what our body, what our heart tells us is needed in a particular moment, right? And so, I mean, I think a good example is, let's say, I mean, a mom takes her child for an appointment, to the doctor, and the doctor says, okay, it's time for the shots. And the mom says, well, doctor, are you sure it's safe? And the doctor says, yes, of course it's safe. There's been, numerous studies to show that it's safe. And then the conversation ends there. Then the mom says, oh, okay. So there's a hunch that the mom says that, I don't know if this is a good idea. But because we've been trained to say that, oh, what that doctor has is knowledge. They have more knowledge than I do. They are more educated than I am. Then we stop the inquiry and we just go, even though we have an inkling that something may not be right, we defer to the head-based knowledge, whether that be our own or from someone else who we perceive as an authority, whether it be a doctor, whether it be a religious leader, or whether it be a fancy academic.
Yeah, so it's kind of connecting with our internal radar, so to speak, and making our decisions, based off of that. And it's like you're saying, we've almost been cut off from how to do that. But there's so much hope in reconnecting with ourselves because there's so much more information available to us. And, I wanted to highlight one other thing that you said, and it deals with living holistically. And it's talking about integrating inner awareness and our outer life. And you said that one profound way to transform our unconscious beliefs regarding fear, anxiety, and lack of love is to practice awareness of breath in the simple everyday moments of our lives. In order to be aware and present with one's breath and sensations, one can appreciate the subtlety of the present moment. Tell us about that.
So this is a practice that's near and dear to my heart. It's essentially bringing us back to the most essential thing of being a human being, which is our breath. And I feel like when we are aware of that, then we can experience life in its simple yet powerful majesty that it is. There's a simple majesty and beauty to it. If we can just come back into ourselves and stay centered, stay in our breath by being aware of the inhale, being aware of the outhale, the outward breath, and just recognizing our body's sensations in those moments. And the more that we can be in that, then the more that we can experience the simple magic of life. I've just found that it really helps that even when I'm not fully conscious of my breath, I find that the more I practice it, the more it helps me to stay centered. And even just when I'm engaging in just simple conversation with people, and to not get out of balance, whether that be mentally out of balance or emotionally out of balance. I find it is a great grounding practice, to help us stay connected to who we are, and in doing that we can, I feel, best serve humanity and our planet as a whole.
Absolutely. And so the breathing is something that can just help us to stay grounded and regulated and in our body. And I think all of the grounding techniques, and there's so many grounding techniques and so many breathing techniques that, a simple, I even tell my clients, like put a reminder on your phone, or, right before you go to sleep, try to do a technique. And then before long, you see the benefit, and then all of a sudden you're out socializing or you're at a business meeting, and you almost maybe sense yourself like not being able to focus, or your mind starts going somewhere, but your body remembers that breathing technique, and all of a sudden you notice your breath, and it's like before long you're back in the present moment, and you're back with that person, and you're back engaging. Instead of being stuck in the mind, you're able to just stay with that person, and it's very regulating and very grounding. So what would it look like, Sohail? um I mean, obviously there's a movement. Like there's a movement going on. Um, And of course, health freedom for humanity is going on, and there's a movement. I mean, I don't know necessarily if it started with, you know, mothers wanting a choice, about the vaccine, or, how many years this whole thing has been propelling. Um, but what do you see as far as humanity is concerned? Do you see more people regulating and grounding, more people getting conscious, more people understanding? Or do you see it more as it's always just going to be a pocket? Or like one person that I was listening to, she said that, when there's a divorce, like the divorce happens and they're adults and they co-parent, and she was like, maybe there's parts of America that just need to divorce. And um I don't know what the answer is. I take care of me and I support my clients, and I am for freedom for everybody, and I'm for everyone having the choice to live out the life that they choose. And but I'm just curious because you have answers in this book that explain how did we get here. But I'm just curious kind of what you see for the future.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. Um, yeah, I definitely feel that more and more people are becoming more and more conscious. I feel like in different ways, we are uncovering layers of the onion, and we are getting more connected to ourselves. I feel like more people are recognizing the how the mainstream media is doesn't speak truth. And while they may say some factual things here and there, I think more and more people are recognizing that this is a trick. Really, it's a trick to get me to believe something that I wouldn't otherwise want to believe. And I feel like more and more people are really looking back on their own lives to say, oh my gosh, so this is why I acted that way when I was a child, or I really want to get over this behavior. It's really driving me crazy. I really want to heal it and not just put a band-aid on it. And that's just something that I've experienced. Being here on social media has allowed me to connect with amazing people like yourself and others. Now, I don't know about you, Melanie, but when I see like some of the people that I'm connected to, I'm just like, oh my goodness, wow. It's like, and you just see so many people sharing these messages, these inspiring messages, and you can really feel that these are coming from experiential places, right? Like, I feel it's different when someone shares something that just comes from the headspace versus something that they've experienced. And I feel that more and more. And I feel like more and more of us are longing for that experiential knowing, to really know something in our bones. And we're not satisfied with superficial answers anymore. I just find more and more people feeling that way, whether it's about the planet and the future of humanity in that sense, or whether it's regards to with what's going on with this pandemic. I feel like they're both, people eventually will come to the same place, that we all need to wake up. We need to become more conscious. We need to come from a place of deep love for ourselves and for all of our relations, so that we can really shine as a species and as a planet again. And so I see more and more people waking up. I've experienced it just in the last year. I've seen it a lot. And so I feel like the more of us who wake up to this deep reality within us and also within the planet, I feel like we're going to transform our circumstances, both with regards to the pandemic and just how we live as a whole. I feel a lot of beauty and love and compassion just for all of life. I'm just sensing it more and more, so it gives me great hope.
Absolutely. I totally feel you on that one, that I have so much more hope and have connected with so many people. And I've got just a couple minutes left. So, Hale, did you want to say anything else about your book or anything else you've got coming up?
Sure. Yeah. So as far as things coming up, I'm definitely working on something new, and I'm very excited about. And the book is going to be connected to it. Um, so I don't want to say any more at this point, but I'm just very excited about the future project that I'll be sharing in the coming months, more details about. And with regards to the book, one important element, so two additional important elements that I really wanted to hit on in the book was our understanding of religion and our understanding of philosophy. As you touched on when you were quoting, that we have this with this head-based understanding, both of religion and philosophy, that if we want to get to the bottom of our core beliefs, I feel like we have to understand at least some of our core beliefs. We have to understand where we as a species took a turn and went in a direction where we've ended up just, regurgitating information, whether it be in the realm of philosophy or the realm of religion, as opposed to experiencing life and living from that deep place of the heart, from our body, that is so precious in my view. And so one of the things that I wanted to share in the book was, based on historical references, where we took some important turns that led us in a direction of being more unconscious and being more focused up here as opposed to operating from here. And so I hope people find it useful and helpful. And yeah, and for me it's a stepping stone into recognizing that we need to really operate from the heart in all our relations. And so having no confusion about that, saying this is what we need to do, and then we can, in my opinion, we can then take the next step wholeheartedly to make big shifts.
That is so awesome, Sohail. And I'm just so excited about what you have coming up. I think that's just so cool. So we'll all be looking for that. And I
Thank you.
really enjoy anytime we get to chat. It's always really great.
It's truly a blessing. Thank you so much, Dr. Melanie. It was wonderful talking with you.
Yes, absolutely. So everyone, go ahead and grab How Did We Get Here? And Sohail, do they go to your page and click on a link or something?
Yeah, in my bio of my Instagram page, there's a link for the book. It's right there, and you can click on it, and people can purchase it right there from that link.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sohail. I really enjoyed chatting. Let's definitely do it again sometime.
Totally. Thank you so much, Melanie. Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.